Alright, guys. If anybody in northern Utah knows, Parley's Canyon is not the funnest place to go. Well, something caused this old truck to overheat. Best case scenario is I burned a couple valves. And all this motor needs is a head job. More than likely, I set a couple rods to the junkyard in the sky. By the time I got this truck home into town, I couldn't get over 35 miles an hour. I will say though, it did drive home, and it did not end up on a tow truck. So, let's keep that oil drained and see what the oil pan shows me. So far, all you can see, but it doesn't look too bad. Doesn't feel bad. I don't feel a lot of shards and stuff in there. So maybe bottom end's okay. We'll find out this winter. I know when I left town, I checked all my fluids and they were high. When I checked it yesterday morning when I brought it home, I was a quart of oil low and a gallon of antifreeze. There is a little bit of gunk up on that radiator cap. Let's let that drain. It doesn't look too bad, but then like I said, I did put a gallon of clean in it, so see what it does as it gets down. What we are going to attempt, because I needed to pull the bumper off anyways because I want to put the bumper guard on. Wouldn't be a bad idea to get the grill out and straighten that out a little bit. So we're going to take all that off, and then we're going to pull this core support here out. And that's kind of where we're at today. go. Time's been getting away from me today. So let's see if we can get the fender and the score support off for right now. Well, we got a short time. Now we can get in here and start getting all this stripped down. The plan is to strip this motor as much as we can, so it's easier to move around. And then this, like I said, this winter we'll tear it apart and see what I did to it. And the more we're talking about it, the more we're thinking it's just the valve train. Guys, I am on my own, so we're going to see about stripping this motor down just to make it easier for me to pull it on my own. got all the bolts pulled off of here. Got a stand underneath the transmission. Getting the plate bolted on right now. Guys, beautiful Saturday morning here in northern Utah. Didn't get a whole lot done yesterday. I did manage to get this all pressure washed and cleaned up and ready. Put the new motor in. Got a couple guys coming over today to help me do that. We're gonna try and get that camper moved into the backyard. Back here, I didn't really videotape much of it because you've seen me do it, but I got this all stripped down and that motor is ready to come out. I need to run a strap underneath the transmission to support it and pull the 4 bolts off the bell housing and we'll be good. This morning I'm just going to be getting a few things picked up, moved around, and cleaned up after the dogs. Come over to the shop here. Came out the other night and straightened this around. I got this pulled up and out so it ain't all folded in. Got as many of the dents out of it as I could. This poor grill is just hammered, but it doesn't look too bad. Get some Neverdoll and polish that up. But I did get a package from LMC. Gonna need 2 hands for this. We got our wind visors for the doors on the 77. And dash. Hoping it would have been a little bit lighter of a color, but that'll sure beat that. Looking at that old dash, it's cracked up and everything, and help protect what's there. Do think that'll look nice once we get it in there. Get Lost Mike's supposed to be in town next week, so I'll get him to help me do the windshield. When we pull it out, I'll get all that cleaned up. Dash all cleaned up and put that in. Don't know how much I'm going to videotape today, because I don't know if any who wants to be on the camera or not, but I'll try and bring you guys along as much as I can. For this morning, I'm just going to be moving some of this stuff around and getting ready for everybody to show up. Alright guys, had a few friends over to help me put the motor in. Unfortunately, one of them didn't want to be on camera, so I didn't get to film a whole lot of it. We got the fender and the hood's back on. We still got to adjust all that. The motor is in. We're having issues with the fuel system. And the heater valve is leaking. So the thermostat housing gasket. We've got here, we've got a new gasket for the thermostat, new hoses, and then we've been fighting with the fuel system, so I'm going to rip the whole thing out and start over. I'll insert a picture right about now of what the fuel sending unit looked like. I've got a new one of those coming in. A lot of searching around on the internet and just trying to figure things out. I figured out all the fuel lines that are underneath there and how we need to run all those. So I got everything for that. I've got a new fuel pump. I bent this plate up. And we'll mount everything here and just build that out. Got another fuel filter to go down in here and all that stuff. So we're going to revamp the whole fuel system. And to start with this morning, that's the first thing I'm going to do is go in here and rip everything out. And we're going to build it from the tank back out. So. So I know that line's clear. We might as well reuse it, but I might cut it a little different. So let's not go ahead. Let's leave that for right now. Okay. All right, that's perfect. There we go. That's my vent system all taken care of. So this comes off the main or off the secondary tank, runs up and ties into all of this vent sign on the main tank and brings it back out. So we'll have to figure out something for that. But that's not a big deal. It's not going to be a run issue. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is gather up all these little nuts and bolts that we took off. Because we're going to reuse a lot of them. And turn around, guys. And everything's got to get mounted up to this plate. And that plate's going to get mounted up in here. Like that. Don't need this here. All right. Boom. Full of radiator fluid. I've got the hoses. I've got made a couple brackets. Oh, well, you can see that. One there and one there for the fuel line coming down. Fuel filter, we got all that done. So by all means, I should be able to reach up underneath and connect power to everything, and we should be able to fire and run on its own. was out here, she was very excited about the new truck.
Who?
Harmony.
Oh. Well, she already knows this one's mine when you pass, right?
I believe so.
Oh.
The way her eyes lit up when this thing fired up, though. I really wish somebody hadn't put a set of headers in the way. There we go. We have a clutch again. Okay. Simple mechanical clutch. Let's see how big of a mess I can make. Okay, let's fire this thing up and see what she does now. Exhaust and a bunch of other little things. I'm gonna move this to the backyard now. Biggest reason was up front was to make it easier putting the motor in. That's pretty close to 90 degrees. Should be close enough for what we're doing. Feed a weld there. Oops. Let's see how that sounds, guys. And this is a cold start. Neutral safety switch is actually working, guys. Does not sound bad at all. All right, guys, I'm gonna button that all up. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on the next one.